Before we get into this video, I have some sad news that I want to share with you. A few days after I was at Gruber Motor Company, where you're about to see all the footage, all the Tesla Roadsters and everything, the place burnt down. So they apparently lost 24 of the Roadsters you're going to see in this video, which is awful because that's a percentage of the Roadsters that were ever made. There were only 2,400 ever made. So this is like some of the last footage of the place. I don't know what they're going to be able to salvage. Pete, if you're watching, I'm sorry. It's awful what happened to you guys, and hopefully you're able to recover quickly. Also, I have my podcast episode I did with them and their channel linked in the description, so subscribe to them if you like the content that they make. And finally, since this is a longer video, I put timestamps down in the description so you're able to go to me just driving the Roadster, or if you want to hear more technical parts of the video in terms of battery servicing and how long the batteries last and all that stuff, I'll have it all laid out below so you don't have to go through the whole video if you don't have time. I hope you guys appreciate that. Again, Gruber, sorry what happened to you guys, but here's the video. Folks, I've got a good video for you today. We're headed to Gruber Motor Company. Now, some of you are probably like, what is that?
Stay in the middle 3 lanes.
She loves to interrupt. Gruber Motor Company, I'm going to be meeting with their CEO,
For 33 miles, continue straight.
Hold. I'm going to be meeting with their CEO, Pete Gruber. I'm going to do their podcast, and he's going to let me drive one of the Tesla Roadsters, one of the original ones, which I've only seen them in person briefly. I've never driven one, obviously. They've become collector's items. They've appreciated in value, and today we get to go drive one and tour their facility. I have some good questions lined up for them. They're a third-party company that knows how to repair Tesla batteries. A lot of the older Tesla Model S's and obviously the Roadsters are becoming out of warranty, so battery packs are failing. And we're gonna learn today what happens when the battery pack fails, what options do you have to repair them. And I'm very excited because these people are highly, highly informed and knowledgeable on batteries, which is what people rightfully so have the most questions about because it's a new frontier. So we're headed up to Gruber Motor Company. I have the link to their channel down in the description if you guys want to check that out. Highly informative, very excited. On our way. BMW M8, also known as the Mate. Beauty. All right, so we made it here to Gruber Motor Company safely, and I'm here with Pete, the CEO of the company, to give us the best information possible. So I'm going to be doing their podcast later today, as I said, and I'll have that link down in the description. But Pete, I'm going to let you take it and show us, talk to about these Roadsters. You have more Roadsters together than I think you can see anywhere in the world. Would you say that's accurate?
That is accurate,
yeah.
Yes. We keep about 1% to 2% of the world's population of Roadsters here in Phoenix. They come in a variety of colors. Here we have a lightning green, only made in 2011. There are only 33 of these.
Yep.
Radiant red is the most popular. You can see the various states that they come from.
Yep.
They're shipped into us from all over the U.S. and the ones that need service out of the country, they generally ship us the power electronics module, and I'll show you what that looks like inside.
Yeah, no, and guys, this garage that you're about to see is unbelievable.
Roadsters and the other Tesla platforms. What the guys are doing here is they're dropping a Tesla Model S battery pack, and probably out of warranty. And what we do is we will go right inside the battery pack and resolve issues at that level, which is infinitely cheaper than changing an entire battery pack for $22,000 to $23,000. Once they get the top off, which is what we have here, we have to eventually do body work to get these things back on. So it's a very time-consuming process. But what's inside a Tesla Model S battery pack and Roadster battery pack are called battery modules in the case of a Model S, which is a collection of 18650 cells. There are 7,104 of these in a 85 kW per hour Tesla Model S in these types of modules. Combination of bricks, which is a series of parallel connected cell combinations, or in a Tesla Roadster where there's 6,831, and this is a Tesla Roadster sheet, as they call it, and there's a battery pack there that shows how 11 sheets go inside the ESS pack, then get tucked up inside the car. What Chad is working on here is a Tesla Roadster series of sheets that have bad cells, and what he's doing is isolating the cells and neutralizing them, essentially taking them out of circuit.
Right. And that's earlier he was explaining to me that's the only way to handle that, because you'd damage the battery pack if you tried to remove the cell and replace it.
It's a destructive process to try to remove it, yes. And as we said earlier, it'd be nice if they were like flashlights. You pop the cap off and you just replace a couple of cells and you're good to go. The pack itself tucks up inside the cavity that normally would have been occupied by an ICE engine in a Lotus Elise. What they've done in a Roadster is empty the cavity and put a transaxle with a 3-phase AC induction motor, which is that piece to the left with the orange cables coming out. It's about the size of a crock pot, but it puts out 288 horsepower at 0 RPMs. Wow. That's the marvel of an EV. The innovation that Tesla brought to the market was a battery pack that would let you go more than 80 miles, like the EV1, for example, or the Volt. And this pack is a combination of lithium-ion cells rather than lead-acid batteries. And with 6,831 of them, this pack, when it was new, would allow a Roadster to travel 240 miles.
Really? I didn't know that was wow.
And
what was the 0 to 60 time of them?
The 0 to 60 was either 3.9 seconds for the non-sport Roadster, or 3.7, which in 2008 was Lamborghini, McLaren, Ferrari territory, and they began to embarrass those Italian exotics at the track with this car, which is really what we feel started the EV revolution. You had a car that was sexy, fast, nimble, and you know, was a compelling automotive experience.
Right. I think the smartest thing Tesla did was make their cars fun to drive and fast.
Yes.
Because without that, someone like me, who I like manual transmissions, I would have never considered it if 0 to 60 was 6.5 seconds and didn't handle well. So the fact that this is where it started is very cool.
So having said all that, the Tesla would not survive or be here today if they continued to make the Tesla Roadster.
Correct.
They figured out somewhere along the way that two things: these are being sold under cost. They finally did some cost accounting, and it wasn't sustainable because the warranty issues were killing them after the fact. There was a $50 million cash infusion by Daimler in Germany that saved the company in 2008 and allowed them to continue to build the Model S, which now is a sustainable family sedan that they made the bodies, they controlled the entire process, including the sales channel, because they didn't push them through dealerships.
Right.
So the electronics in these cars are numerous, and the type of work that we end up doing, even though it's called an auto shop, is mostly electronics.
Yeah.
Here, for example, is a Tesla Roadster battery pack, which is getting balanced. What we're doing is charging each of these sheets individually to reach the same voltage level, so that by the time it goes back up inside the car, it has maximum range. Because the battery management system, for safety reasons, will only allow a charge to the lowest brick in the battery pack. In the lab here, and again, this reinforces that this is a different type of different type of auto shop.
Yeah.
You see a lot of electronics here. These are Tesla Roadster power electronic modules. Each of these is a 3-phase inverter that converts DC to AC, and then powers a 3-phase AC induction motor, which is what Nikola Tesla invented well over 100 years ago. Wow. Like an internal combustion engine, there are wear components, but instead of bearings and gaskets and rings on pistons, you have things like the electrolytic capacitors, which have an 8-year shelf life, which are now going on 13 years in these PEMs. And when these go bad, and I'll show you some ones that have gone bad, They will blow their top, they will short, they will blow the transistors, and oftentimes the shrapnel that results from a PEM blowing its capacitor is conductive shrapnel that hits the circuit boards.
Wow.
Now, that wouldn't be a huge problem if you could go down to Napa or O'Reilly or AutoZone and pick up another board. These have been out of production for 13 years, and there are no more being built. So the only way to keep these cars alive is to do proactive maintenance, replace the wear components before they have a chance to fail.
This is by far going to be the most informative Tesla video I ever make.
Cool.
I'm nowhere near this level of. I really appreciate the detail you're going into, because sometimes my audience complains that I'm driving the car and just showing you how it works and having fun. They're like, you're not technical enough. So now you guys can't complain anymore.
No more complaints about the lack of technical content.
Because this is it. We have all the technology.
Tesla doesn't have any sort of information for us in terms of schematics and drawings. We don't even know if they have that anymore, because the Roadster was kind of a redheaded stepchild.
Yeah.
And with only 2,400, it wasn't quite as important as the million or so other cars that they now have produced. A lot of the equipment that we use to do reverse engineering, because of the degree of miniaturization, is things like microscopes or BGA soldering machines. The only way to keep a Tesla Roadster on the road today, including some of the assemblies that are in the car, like this is an HVAC controller that was made by a German company, no longer in production and no chance of getting them to make anymore, is to do proactive maintenance on these and continue to rebuild them. And you can see there are a number of electronics inside here. Here's a large row of capacitors again, which are notorious for drying up and becoming resistive. Then there's a DC to DC converter, which takes the 400 volts DC that comes out of the main battery pack and converts it to 12 volts for your audio, lights, headlights, your wiper motors, anything that's 12 volts.
Yeah.
If they were to run 400 volts DC throughout a car and develop 400 volt devices, mechanics would electrocute themselves. So to keep it safe, they stay with the 12 volt systems or buses in these cars.
What are options? This is a question that I constantly get. What happens when the battery packs go bad? So I have a Tesla Model Y. If I drive it for 200,000 miles and the pack goes bad, do you know of options for recycling them, or is there any way to handle that in the future?
Well, the first of all, the lifespan of a Model S, for example, is most likely going to be comparable to what we're seeing in Roadsters, and there's not sufficient empirical data yet to tell us how long these packs will last.
Okay.
I talked to Gjeebs 4 months ago, and he was saying he's got the first Tesla Roadster battery pack, and it's still going strong. It's a 2008. So we were talking about how long these packs last. He said the original design life was 10 years. Here they are going on 13 and still going strong, except for the aberrations where the car has been stressed, it's been bricked, it has not been charged properly,
Right.
It's got water ingress, whatever. So we don't know yet how long the packs will last, but there is an expiration date coming.
Yeah.
Now, when that happens in a Tesla Model S, an out-of-warranty battery replacement is about $22,000 to $23,000. Unfortunately, the car is only worth $25,000.
Right.
So people are going to be facing a problem. Now, companies like us can repair them prior to them reaching end of life, but once they reach end of life, there's nothing we can do. We'd have to replace all of the modules in that pack.
Right.
So what Ken is working on here is one of the boards out of the Tesla PEM. Can you tell us what you're doing?
This is the what's called the CIC board. This is where the power comes into the PEM and is distributed to the other electronics in the PEM. I'm working on developing an improved heat sink method so that the parts last longer. Developing some measurements and taking measurements and trying to prevent this from happening. A little burn mark of the PEM. It controls also the fans that keep the PEM and motor cool.
Jeez.
So what we also do
Thank
is
you.
Sure. We share our intellectual property and our R&D type procedures with Tesla,
Okay.
recognizing that there's much more value in partnership than there is in a competitive adversarial relationship.
Right.
And we've been nurturing that for many years now. Glad to say that it is panning out.
Yeah. No, it is. That's kind of similar to how Tesla is with their IP. Is that right? Okay.
Right.
It's all open.
And I
Very
think
cool.
it all goes back to the original culture, which was very pro-Tesla versus Edison.
Yeah.
Now, Edison was a patent troll. whereas Tesla basically gave away all of his intellectual property and his knowledge.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see that continue.
Yeah. All right, so we're heading out of the garage here. Crazy how many Roadsters are in here. And this is the one we're going to be taking for a drive today with Pete, which will be very cool. Also, a little detail that I noticed is they have AP Racing brake calipers. For those of you enthusiasts out there, that's exciting to you. It's exciting to me. Brakes excite me. So I am very excited for this little test drive we're about to go on. Another one, another one, another one. There are only 2,400 of these made. So the fact that they have so many here shows how respected they are in the industry. So let's hop in and go for a ride. Oh my goodness. All right.
The first Roadsters they built, only like 20 or so, they had a 2-speed transmission and they were burning out the clutches.
Yeah.
Too much torque.
This is so cool. They're so low to the ground.
Yeah.
I think this is the lowest car I've ever driven. A Lamborghini Gallardo is another car I've driven that's low, but this is...
Yeah. We had a 308 Ferrari for years, and it was kind of like this too.
Yeah, I've one of the cars I've driven on the channel is a 308 GTSI.
Yeah.
So that was a amazing car as far as feel goes. All right, so we're off.
So they come with a soft top or a hard top.
Okay.
And then there's a Italian manufacturer that makes a Visium top, which is translucent but shaded, and that's also cool. So there's no power steering, no power brakes. It's a sports car.
Yeah, it really is. To have a stripped out with all the technology now, and to see this is where it started is so cool. All right.
Yeah, the early Tesla adopters were a special breed.
Yeah.
They were able to handle the fact that they were buying a car or actually prepaying with a company that may not make it.
Yeah.
So that was one of the first courageous things about the early Tesla adopters. And they're also a passionate go green bunch.
Yeah.
If you take it right up here, we can go down to the 101 and just...
This actually rides very smooth.
Yeah, it's
the
not bad.
suspension is nice. I'm surprised at how refined it feels. It feels soft.
I'm the test driver, so I road test a lot of Roadsters, and I find that the lower mileage ones definitely are smoother.
Yeah.
We have some actually that are down into 4,000 to 8,000 mile original miles after 10 years, which is remarkable.
Jeez. Yeah, it takes off. It feels like a Ferrari 308. Actually, the steering feel, no power steering, and that's so different for what Teslas are now. Man, this is very cool. And are you able to plug this into a supercharger?
No.
Okay.
There's an aftermarket adaptation that's available for shadow mode charging.
Okay.
Some owners are concerned about the stress it places on the battery because there is no thermal cooling available with that modification.
Okay. Still has regen braking.
It does, yes.
Yeah, so as I get on it here to kind of describe the feel to you guys, so I'm all out. I mean, it rips. Man, that's a really unique, no sound, but still exhilarating.
Yep.
You can still have fun in these cars, and that's what I try to promote on my channel a lot is, yeah, there's no exhaust, you can't shift it, but the driving dynamics of the cars are very good, very engaging.
Very nimble.
Yes.
You can zip in and out of traffic. You can avoid, accidents and by just being aware, and you've got plenty of power at your disposal.
Yep. That's cool. It's almost like a right here?
Yeah,
Okay.
take right here.
It's like on a Ferrari, like there are buttons now.
Yeah, there were 2 horns in my Ferrari, and it would blow both of them. What you normally expect.
That never gets old. And so there's RPMs here. I just noticed that.
Yes, on the older versions they have RPMs.
Wow.
And it also tells you on the newer versions what your power consumption is.
Yeah.
There's a VDS screen on the 2.0s that sits right here, and it gives you all kinds of data, temperature data.
Yeah, this is very cool. Pretty comfortable. I mean, I'm 6 feet tall. I'm probably about as tall as you want to be in one, maybe 6'2". I don't know. With the roof off, I guess you can be taller. There's only so much room for your legs.
Right.
Yeah, this is a very cool. I mean, that's half throttle. It's quick.
So back in the day, before Model S, there were only Roadsters on the road.
Yeah.
Here in Arizona, there were only 40 of us. So it was rare to see one unless you went to a meetup of some type. They have speed bumps here too. This is actually a convenient quarter-mile track from where we are down to here, and they figured that out pretty quickly. And every Saturday night they would run their cars here, until they put speed bumps in. They tried everything, speed traps and all that. We're way down on the end.
Okay. And one thing I've come to appreciate with these cars is the sound is still. What is that? You can hear that winding sound, which I've come to like.
Yeah, it's a combination of the inverter at a certain frequency and then the motor windings.
Yeah.
It sounds like a pod racer. Some people have figured out on the AM radio band it throws out enough harmonics where you can get that sound coming through your speakers.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. My first set of tires lasted 8,000 miles. You just can't keep your foot off the go pedal, you know.
Is it a square setup in this car? Same front and back tire width?
No, actually they're different. Different height and different width.
Oh, wow.
16s in the front and 17s in the back. So the range on this, with an older battery, it's about 150 miles or so.
Just still very good.
Which is excellent, yeah. We've had some. There's one in the shop that's almost 190, and it's an original battery, so it's amazing. And that's at 80% charge. Full range on that would probably be over 200 miles based on its 80% level.
Yeah, that's impressive. Well, folks, that about does it. Dude, this lady. It's every time I turn the camera on. I just drove by a park, by the way, called Horse Lovers Park. Now, what goes on in there? Those are the questions I need the politicians to answer for me. But anyways, it was awesome to go to Gruber Motors and speak to Pete and... Oh, I almost ran a pedestrian over. I'm sorry. Pete, if you're watching, thank you guys for having me. It was awesome to see the facility. It was great to do your podcast. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Those of you complaining I'm not technical enough, well, we did some of that today. I kept my mouth shut and I let Pete do what he does best. So thank you all for watching. If you're still with me, please like the video and consider subscribing to the channel. I'm not going to force you to, but if you like the content, you're still with me, I would appreciate that.